We have been working with quadratic equations. Remember, quadratic means that that squared. We're going to be solving these now. Now, you can think of it as reversing PEMDAS. Okay, but let's just jump right into an example. Okay, so x squared equals 16. We want to get, when it says solve equations, what's the whole goal? Get x by itself. We need to figure out how to get rid of that squared to get x by itself. Any ideas? How'd you get 4? Right, so you kind of thought backwards. You're like, what times what gives me 16? It is 4, but let's think of how we can get rid of that squared using math. You're exactly right, it's going to be 4. Right, the opposite of a square is a square root. So think, if I had 2x equals 16, how did we get x by itself? We divided, because they're multiplying. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. Okay, so the opposite of a square is a square root. So what you do to one side, you're going to do the other. So you're going to take the square root of both sides. What happens on the left side is that exponent and the square root cancel each other out. So then you're just left with x. And then what's the square root of 16? 4. Okay, one more thing we have to talk about is how many solutions have we been having with quadratic equations? We've been having 2. Remember that exponent, that power, that tells us the degree. That's how many answers we're supposed to have. But we only have one answer. We need another. Is there, I can plug in 4. 4 times 4 gives me 16. Is there another number I can plug in squared to give me 16?
I don't know. I don't think so.
So we can plug in positive 4.
Oh, negative 4.
Negative 4. Okay? Negative 4 times negative 4, that's positive 16. So our answers, when you take the square root of something, it's going to be positive negative 4. So when you take the square root of a positive number, you're going to get the answer as plus or minus whatever number that is. So this is our two solutions. Okay, you can write it as x equals 4 and x equals negative 4, or you can simply write it with the plus or minus in front. So whenever you take the square root of a positive number, you're going to have a plus or minus 4. Or you can write a positive and a negative. Okay. Number 2. So we want to solve, which means get n by itself. How do we get n by itself? Take the square root of both sides. What happens on the left side? It becomes n. And then square root of 36 is what? 6. But how many solutions are we supposed to have? 2. So I need what? Yep. Positive and negative 6. Yep. That sign in front, positive and negative 6. Let's look at this one. Okay, how do we solve? Take the square root. This one is not so nice, right? Yep, get your calculators out. So we're left with x on the left. Take the square root of 39. Right, I'm going to have 2, so what sign do I need? Plus or minus. And then what was the square root of 39 with 3 decimal places? 6 point, go for it.
2, 4, 4.
Yep, 2, 4, 5. So you should get plus or minus 6.245. Look at number 4. How do we solve?
Square root.
Take the square root of both sides. So we have x equals, type in the square root of negative 40.
Can I just make it negative?
Yep. Square root of negative 40. What'd you get?
6.324. I mean, it's
What does yours say?
error.
It says error, right? Why do you think it's an error? It's negative. Is there any number times itself to get us a negative?
No.
No. So whenever you take the square root of a negative number, there's no solution. So you cannot take the square root of a negative number. If you have the square root of a negative number, your answer is no solution. You physically cannot do it. Okay? Let's move on to number 5. How is number 5 different than all the other ones?
It's got a -7.
Right. N squared is not by itself.
Add 7.
What's our first goal, do you think?
Get n alone.
Right. We want to get n by itself, so what do we need to move first? 7. By how? Adding 7 to the other side. So add 7 on both sides. So we get n squared equals 4. And then what is our last step? Take the square root of both sides. So we have n equals, good, positive negative 2. Okay. What about number 6?
So we gotta divide negative.
Right, we got to divide first. Divide by -9 on both sides.
I think it's negative.
So we get r squared equals
Some big numbers.
36.
I think it's 36.
Okay, I want to pause for a second. Mila, why did you say thank goodness it's negative?
Or else it'd be negative.
Right,
It would be no solution.
it would be no solution. But since we have a positive, what's our next step?
Square root.
Take the square root. What's my answer?
6. Positive negative.
There you go. Positive -6. Again, why is it not just 6?
Because you can do negative.
Because we have to have 2 solutions. Okay? All right. Number 7. What do we do on number 7? It's the same thing. Divide by -10. So we have x squared equals what? -6. Oh no. What's wrong? Why is it no solution?
Oh no.
You can't take the square root of a negative number.
Get that out of here.
Again, why can you not take the square root of a negative number?
Because no negative times itself equals a
Right.
negative.
You can't multiply any number by itself to give you a negative number. Okay, so you cannot take the square root of a negative number. All right, let's look at number 8. What do we do first?
79.
Divide by 10. X squared equals
79.
79. Last step,
Square root.
square root,
8.888.
3 decimals.
8.888.
8.888.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
always have to do 3 decimals.
Yes.
Yes.
What am I missing?
Oh, positive.
Yep, positive, negative. Remember, you always need that positive, negative. Okay? What does this mean? If I say x equals this, thinking about a graph, what is that? If it says x equals this and this, what does our graph look like first?
Yeah.
What's the word?
Parabola.
Parabola. So x equals, I'm going to round to 8. X equals 8, positive and negative 8. What does that mean on the graph? Where's x at on a graph? It's the x-axis, right?
Yep.
So those 2 points are where they cross the x-axis. Those are your 2 points that we worked on last week. Okay? All right. I want to look at... Oh, why'd you say oh no?
It's a negative.
It's going to be negative. So number 9, what's your answer going to be on number 9?
Solution.
No solution.
Oh no.
On number 10, will you have a solution?
Yes. No. Yes. Yes.
Yes, you will. Okay, I'm going to jump ahead to number 11. Okay, how many steps is there to this one?
3.
There's going to be 3 steps. What needs to happen first? Subtract 6. So we have 3n squared equals 222. Next, divide by 3. N squared equals 74. Last step, Square root. So square root of 74. Remember 3 decimal places.
Positive, negative,
Good. Positive, negative.
something. I don't know.
8.602.
Yep. 8.602.
Score.